Welcome back to another episode of Can You Believe That? Do you watch The Car Wizard or Hoovie's Garage on YouTube? If you do, you probably know who I am. I'm the Car Wizard. And we have the paranormal cryptid guru, Thomas Durant, also a professional filmographer and editor and all kinds of other things you do.
I do stuff, mostly producing these days, but it always helps to have a pretty wide, diverse toolkit to pull from. You know that. You're a garage guru.
Yeah, pretty much. It's nice to find somebody out there that, it's got... Not a lot of people are into the things we talk about on this channel, or either that it's kind of taboo, they really don't, maybe they'll be thought of as weird, but here we jump right in, don't we?
Oh yeah, both feet or head first, however you want to say it. We go right for the weirdness, tinfoil hats and all. And today's episode is a bit of like special news, isn't it, Wizard?
Yeah, if any of you do the doom scrolling and you're on Facebook and doing all the things, it keeps popping up. I've had several friends kind of corroborate this, about this object that's way out in our solar system called 3I Atlas. This supposedly could be an alien craft or something like that. We're going to dive into that today, different ideas. But I kept seeing that popping up all the time, and then more data has been revealed. And I started thinking, this isn't just some kind of a scam. Something's happening here. We've got to do an episode on this so we can all talk about it. I know you guys out there watching have probably seen this on your phone or TV or whatever you're scrolling, and this is going to be a really interesting one. I'm kind of excited for whatever this is to arrive, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm excited, but also nervous. And if the experts that we're listening to are right, this could change everything for us.
There's a Harvard physicist or scientist named Avi Loeb who's really put out there. He's got several statements and things that he's made, but one of the things that he keeps pushing is that he does not believe this is just a comet or a natural type of an object just hovering through the universe. In fact, he made a statement, and I have a picture here. It shows the statement that he made that it is 0.005% chance that it's just a natural rock floating around, which means it's 99.995% chance that this is an intelligent craft. That's coming from a Harvard scientist.
Yeah. Professor Avi Loeb has been at the forefront in the ufology field as of late, because when I'm butchering.
Yeah, I've heard about that one too. Yeah,
the Maui Wowie. It's the first interstellar object that we've seen of that kind. When that came into our solar system, Avi Loeb was one of the first people to start looking at it, looking at the trajectory, looking at all the possibilities, doing the actual science, and he was able to look at it and say, well, there's a chance that this is actually some sort of intelligently manipulated vehicle. And then it passed out, and of course, then another object came in. He didn't say anything about that one. But now 3I Atlas, meaning interstellar object, comes into play. And like you said, the data has left him curious about it. And so like any good scientist, he's not coming in with preconceived notions. He's just being open to the possibility that maybe it is a comet, maybe it's not. Maybe it is an alien craft, maybe it's not. But let's see what the data says. And he is collecting all that data, which is pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. A lot of things I've been reading, I don't know if they're statements from Avi Loeb, but they're relating to his statements. And they're saying that this object, it has different color lights or things that will turn on and other things will turn off. It's not like just natural events happening. It's controlled events being controlled by something. Say it was like 7 miles long or something.
Bigger than Manhattan. It is, in fact, the biggest interstellar object to enter our solar system. And that is a wild fact, given the fact that like a lot of space is empty, but somehow, like you said, that 0.05% chance he was talking about, that has to do with the fact that it's got almost a perfect trajectory through our solar system, coming near at least 5 of the planets. And then as we're traveling around the sun, it's literally going to end up being eclipsed by our sun with the position of us by the time it's close enough for us to actually like see what's going on. So he said that was astronomically, pun intended, a very low statistical probability. And he has run the numbers on this thing. So fascinating to me.
The scary part is when it arrives to that point when it's between us and the sun, is it turns and decides to come towards us. And it's going to be right there. I mean, that's going to be very interesting to see.
What he's suspecting is if it's some sort of intelligently manipulated craft, that he believes it'll end up changing trajectory or parking behind the sun during the time when it's eclipsed from our view, or I guess retrograde from our view. You could correct me in the comments, but essentially, when we can't see it, he's predicting that it's either going to change direction, change speed, or it's going to park. And he said that's a perfect time for another civilization who has sent a probe out to look for life on other planets to send smaller probes out of a larger probe. So almost like a mothership kind of situation.
Right. That's very interesting. I think they said it was traveling at like 150,000 miles an hour or 130, somewhere around in there. But that's way faster than anything that we can. I think some of our fastest crafts, I think when they went to the moon, was like 17,000 miles an hour or 20. Definitely not 150,000 miles an hour. That's tremendous speed. In fact, it's so fast. I think that they said it will be here around right at the end of November, beginning of December.
Yeah, initially they thought 2027 is when it was going to be closest, but now it seems like that estimate has changed vastly. And here's the thing. If it was on a collision course with Earth, it's I think 5 times larger, or 3 or 5 times larger than what could have potentially killed all the dinosaurs. So it would be a mass extinction event on this planet if it hit. Luckily, it doesn't look like it's going to. But again, if it changes direction, changes course, what does that mean for us?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Every time those things keep popping up, I just keep pondering to myself. I'm like, I have 3 different scenarios, 3 different possibilities. One being from my religious upbringing. We can kind of dive into it here, Tommy, but
yeah,
what could happen in each of these scenarios? Number one, it's just a natural rock or an asteroid or something, and it just floats on by and doesn't do anything, or possibly, like you said, impacts Earth, and that would be disastrous.
End of us. Don't have to worry about it anymore because we won't be here.
So, if that scenario, what do you think? Let's say that they say it's on course to hit Earth. What are our options? What could we even do?
Well, as Avi Loeb said in an interview I watched, it's already too close for us to intercept with any sort of craft. So the chances of us intercepting it with some sort of missiles or bombs, or like say the movie Armageddon, was it Armageddon, where they went out to the asteroid and tried to blow it up?
Captain America here blew the landing by 26 miles.
How the hell do you know that?
Because I'm a genius.
That chance is gone. We don't have a shot at that right now. Okay. What we have a shot at is if your friends have a good survival shelter with lots of food, you may survive. But that kind of an impact, again, being that it's multitudes larger than what killed all the dinosaurs on this planet, there's very little chance that we're going to have a survivability rate, because it essentially, when it hits wherever the impact is in vicinity of that, it'll likely evaporate all the water, which could create water in the skies, but then that's going to mix with all the silt and dust and other materials and come crashing back down. And I'll be honest, with how polluted this planet is from us, I don't think I want to be drinking that rainwater, truthfully, especially if it comes out from, Nevada desert, where a lot of nuclear bombs were let off.
What? Oh, I got a big problem.
I think it's just kind of an endgame scenario. There's not much you can do. If humanity survives, it'll be similar to the Ice Age, where less than 10,000 of our proto-human ancestors were able to survive and then repopulate the Earth. But even still, the damage, I think, would just be too vast for us to survive. So it might just be essentially the rapture.
That definitely does seem like a scary scenario if it were to hit. But the second scenario that I have is that it's an intelligent craft or a being from another planet. So 3 things could happen there. They could just go by and observe and keep on going. Number 2, they could stop by and try to start some sort of peaceable communication or introduce themselves. And the third thing is they could kill all of our asses and take over.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last one is the least possible, because chances are, not saying that I'm an expert on this. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of am here, but I would say that if the civilization wanted to wipe us out, they would wipe us out. If it is just a probe, knowing just how long it took because they're sure it came from the other end of the Milky Way galaxy, by the time that information goes back there, the people that sent it are likely dead, or the whatever that sent it are likely dead. And even if they do live for that long, then they have to amass troops and come here. So it'll be another human generation before they arrive. So I don't think that we're going to have to worry about that. And truthfully, if you've listened to our other episodes, other species are already here. Like, I don't have any doubt that there's extraterrestrial species that are already interacting with people on this planet and observing us. I think it's less likely that. I think, if anything, it's probably a scientific mission or an exploratory mission from another species from the other side of this beautiful Milky Way that we exist in.
And that brings to mind thinking about the beings that are on this craft, even if it's just exploratory or it's just, kind of a scout mission type thing. These beings either, number one, live a very long time that they could survive the mission of who knows how long, years, decades, millennia to get here. Or there's some sort of hibernation technology they have, similar to like when we watch Aliens, they put everybody under, they go to sleep.
All right, sweethearts, what are you waiting for? Breakfast in bed? Another glorious day in the Corps.
What would you think would be a possibility of there being a race of beings that can live to be 7,000 years old or whatever?
Well, let's first go to your Bible. And in the Bible, early humans, some like Moses, would live for hundreds of years.
Right.
If you believe the texts, which you do if you're Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say that like we're limited to a certain time period on this planet necessarily? The other thing I'll say, though, is Avi says this really succinctly in some of the interviews, where we don't know if they've had millions or billions of years to develop their technology. So where they're at in trajectory to technology and life versus us, it's almost like we can't compare it, because they may have found a way to reach singularity with technology and their biology to where they can live for centuries of time and still be alive and exist and have good health. They may completely be robotic of sorts. It may be the remnants of a civilization that built robotic bodies or AI technologies of sorts. And this is what that is. We don't know. And there's also just no limitation to what non-human life would be like and would exist like. I mean, Star Trek does a great job. Specifically, there's a Next Generation episode where they run into these essentially like space whales, not the whales that they brought the humpbacks back from the dead, but actually like space creatures that are like whales.
Life forms. You tiny little life forms. You precious little life forms.
And that's one of the things where I think like, yeah, we can limit ourselves to just thinking we know what we know. But if you look at it with an open mind, you could say, well, maybe to them, 1,000 years is like nothing, because they live for 10,000 years. We don't have enough information to know for sure, but it seems likely that if they sense something, then at least there's a sense of curiosity about them, probably some sort of scientific side to them. And then also maybe a spiritual component, because a lot of people that have interactions, sorry for the air quotes for people that are contactees, but I have to do that for our skeptical friends. Contactees will often explain that these entities are very spiritual in nature, and they're talking about promoting peace as opposed to us blowing each other up. So I think that's a lot to just contemplate as this thing comes into our area of space, and we see what it does.
Right. So if there are, like you just said, there are possible beings on this craft, it's kind of human hubris or kind of elitist views is to think that if there's a creature on another craft, it has to be bipedal, it has to be humanoid, it has to be, that's how humans think. What's got to be that, because that's what we are. So it has to also be that. But it could be a blob. It could be a winged creature. You don't know what it could be.
Yeah. I mean, I love the show The Orville, because Seth MacFarlane, being a huge Star Trek fan, made his own version, and he cast Norm Macdonald, one of my favorite comedians of all time, to play a blob. And that's it. It's like a gelatinous blob that's intelligent. He just shapes himself and kind of does things. And, Star Trek Deep Space Nine also did that with Odo, who is a liquid life form. So that's a possibility for real. Like, we don't know. They could be liquid life forms. The ship itself could be a living thing.
Could be.
We don't know. And that's what makes it so exciting. But like, there's facts and there's fiction and there's sort of this in between in terms of the data we have. And can I clarify something for our viewers, Wizard, real quick?
Sure.
Now, most people say, well, it's just an asteroid or it's just a comet. And in terms of the comet thing, a lot of people are they're hanging their hat on this comet thing. And it's all from one series of images from the Hubble Space Telescope where it looks like there is a gas cloud. But normally in comets, the gas cloud is behind the comet, right? Because it's coming towards the sun and all the particles are burning off and moving behind it, which is why comets have tails. This doesn't have a tail. The mass cloud is in front of the object as it's moving. It could be some sort of effect that we're unsure how it's possible that happens, but it's natural. Or it could be some sort of, I mean, I hate to say this, force field or warp bubble or some sort of protective barrier in front of the objects as it's moving through interstellar space. So for those who are just already thinking, oh, it's just a comet, all I ask, just like Avi Loeb would ask, is have an open mind. Don't jump to conclusions. And we're not saying jump to the idea that it's a spaceship either, because we know even Avi has walked back his percentage there and he created a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being artificial, 1 being a natural known object. As of 5 days ago from when we recorded this, he's at about a 4. He says 40% chance this is unnatural and a 60% chance it's natural, but he's keeping an open mind. So we just want you all to have an open mind as well. And that's why we did this episode, because it is breaking news. Like we came to you with the congressional hearings, and while that's still going on, there's a lot being talked about. This has the possibility of impacting the entire planet, and it's going to happen this year, which is crazy.
It is. It's currently headed our way, at least in our direction.
Yeah.
We always think that an alien craft is out maybe doing scouting or exploring, but some movies get it right that the craft could have been sent or left a dying world, or it was destroyed in war or whatever, something catastrophic happened. And they're just trying to find the next planet that they can go to either take all the resources or take over and inhabit it. And that'll be their new home. That part kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah, but I still like to have hope, Wizard, because there was a show in the 80s called Alien Nation. I think it was a movie first and then a show. And it was kind of about extraterrestrials coming to Earth, but as refugees. You know, and like Superman essentially is a refugee alien story too, right? It's space, planet blows up, and survivors come to Earth. Like in Alien Nation, it was like a mixed bag, just like humanity, of some were really good and became police officers and detectives, and some were bad and nefarious and wanting to turn Earth into their planet. But there's another possibility, Wizard, and this one may have escaped a lot of people. On Earth, we have a repository, but it's like a seed bank.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's got copies of like DNA and seeds of all different types of plants and things from all over the planet. What if this ship just is that? It's a floating repository for all of what happened or what existed on their planet. And it's not necessarily looking to propagate, but just to put it out there so somebody someday would find it. And, you know, maybe it could be turned into a new planet, or maybe it's just for knowledge, for science, because there's plenty of scientists out there that even if they can't be alive, they still want the information to be out there. So what if this is a scientific species and they basically put a vault together or an ark of sorts, like let's go Noah's Ark with it, to just send out the components of life that they knew, so that a piece of their planet still lives on in history somewhere. And I think that that's just as likely a scenario as anything else.
There's a possibility that it would just park itself between us and the moon, close enough to where we could get a ship out and go from there. But like in that previous episode you talked about that we did about the congressional hearing, where they basically admitted beyond a shadow of a doubt that they had found organic intelligence.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
What do you believe UAPs could be or are?
Strong evidence that they are non-human, higher intelligence.
I echo my colleague's comment, sir.
So that means to me that they do exist, something like that exists, and now this thing's coming our way. Not only does it make me wonder who they are or what they are, but the government's always been very protective of this information. They don't want it getting out.
Yeah.
If this becomes truly a ship with beings on it, obviously the government has already okayed for it to us be known by us, and when it arrives, they're not going to be able to hide it because Avi Loeb just told everyone it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say to combat that is it was discovered with the Atlas telescope, which is not one of our most high-powered by any stretch of the imagination. So it's almost kind of a fluke that they found this. And the one thing I'll say about the astronomical scientists out there is a lot of them are very good at sharing data. And so I almost think that even if the government wanted to hush it, they were just so on top of sharing this immediately that you can't put the cat back in the bag, or what do they say? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right?
Right.
Like it's almost too much. Plus, like they've got their hands full with this disclosure movement because in case you haven't been following since our last episode special report, we have more whistleblowers who have come through and said, yes, there are non-human intelligent craft. There are reverse engineered craft. We're pretty sure Lockheed Martin has one of these reproduction vehicles that has been seen and used. And even potentially the Tic Tac video might be one of the reproduction vehicles from Lockheed Martin. So a lot has been coming out about this lately. And so that's why, again, it's like we come out with these special reports when we can. Sometimes there's just too much to get out there quickly. And, we ask that, like, if you're interested, you could go to other channels and watch their news reports and their breakdowns. Like there was a whole breakdown about the Wall Street Journal running a series of articles about how, none of this is real, which obviously was a government puff piece. And it very much did not look at the actual data. It just made a lot of assumptions. So every ufologist under the sun has already basically debunked it. And if you want to see, go to Richard Dolan's channel for Intelligent Disclosure. Go watch News Nation. Ross Coulthart has done a lot of great work on this. And those are the people I'm following because they are open-minded, even though they seem to be leaning to believing. There's a lot of great new information, and we'll keep you up to date as best we can. But we thought Atlas being such a big deal in the news and all over social media, and also like potentially scary if it crashes into Earth. We thought you'd want to know about it. Don't go home and get mad at your significant other and go to bed angry, because who knows if it's going to come and hit us.
Yeah, who knows? You definitely don't want to wake up and say, wow, I should have went to bed in peace.
Yeah, don't anger the wife or the husband or the whomever, and make sure you're telling people you love them, because again, the good Lord gives us only so many days, so make the best of them while you got them.
Well, speaking of the good Lord, that takes me to my third scenario from a religious standpoint. Anytime a craft or something unexplained, even in the movies, shows up, there's always people, this is aliens, but there's always the religious fanatics or the religious people, the end of the world and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Reading about this three-eye atlas, it made me think about this third scenario. Most religions have some sort of a story about the end of the world. The Hopi have it. The Christians have it. There's a lot of different religions that have an end of the world scenario. If one of these scenarios are going to happen and come true, then that means finally one day we do arrive at that point. And reading these things, this third scenario I have with this three-eye atlas is in the Christian religion, in Revelation, it talks about as God is ready to start putting the end to the world as we know it, there's different steps involved. There's different vials and bowls and things that are opened up, different things that are revealed. And there's different instances in Revelation where God says, now send out this, I don't know if you call it a rider or someone on a horse, and maybe from heaven, wherever heaven's at, maybe God has said, send this out. Let's go ahead and start the process.
Yeah, the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
And we see this thing now coming into our solar system. And I'm just like, is this phase one coming our way? That worries me too as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was talk of like the Antichrist and think of that who you will. We could do a whole
Mhm.
episode on the Antichrist. Then there's obviously like the breaking of the seals. That's all part of it as well.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Wizard, but is there not a piece of when, because I know it's like very warrior Jesus at the end where
Mhm.
Jesus comes back, but doesn't it say that basically heaven descends upon earth for the final battle?
Yeah, it actually talks about, it even gives size of, I don't know if it's a craft or whatever, but heaven
Right.
descends upon earth. And it talks about it being so many cubits long, wide. I don't know. I don't know how to do the math, the exact measurements, but something descends upon earth and God is inside of this, and it is
Yes.
now heaven on earth. Before that part happens, there's various phases of, like you said, the four horsemen. Maybe this is the first one.
Yeah. Or maybe eventually it's going to be the descending of the creator back on earth to tell us, hey, stop being jerks to each other. Because
I don't know, it could be.
although Old Testament God is pretty gnarly, but New Testament, very kind. So I'm hoping for New Testament God.
Yeah, I hope so too. But we talked about in previous episodes that even in from a biblical standpoint, that angels or beings from heaven possibly could travel in craft. They don't just teleport. Maybe they do have some means of transportation.
Yeah.
And if that's true, and then they receive this object, 3i Atlas, maybe someone or something that God has sent has, go ahead and travel to Earth and do this or do that. Phase 2 will be right behind you. I am done with Earth. That kind of freaks me out too.
As with our viewers, we're going to have to just wait and see what's going on and keep listening to folks like Avi Loeb who tell us exactly what they're thinking and what their data shows, and just keep a close eye on it. And we'll try to keep you all informed as well. But if you have thoughts on what you think 3i Atlas is, whether you believe it's a comet, an asteroid, or maybe an alien craft of sorts, let us know in the comments. Tell us what you think or what your research has shown, because we'd love to read more on this too. And there's typical news sources you look at, and then there's the not so typical, and we may not know all the not so typical. So put the stuff below. We do read the comments as you see, and we try to interact.
Right. And whatever this object is, or whatever it is still, 2 or 3 months out before it arrives, or at least is more understood. So obviously, as time goes on, we're going to receive more data or updates. Things could change. Let's, in the comments, let's talk about it. I read this or I saw this. It's definitely something worth talking about. That's kind of why we did the video today, to let you guys also chip in with your comments, your ideas, and we can all have kind of a big conversation about this 3i Atlas.
Yes, and if you are a astronomer or amateur astronomer and you can point your telescope up to the sky, take some pictures, send some video, let us know, show us what you're finding, and if you see anything funky going on, because again, we want to know, and when we find out, we'll break it to all of you so you can listen here.
Another thing I'm really afraid of, Tommy, is a creature comes out of the craft and says, I'm looking for Thomas Durant. What do we do then?
I'm sure everyone's just going to hand me over.
All your friends are going to find you and say, here, take him.
Well, it'll finally make me feel like I found my family, because I never really fit in with my real family back east. So yeah, maybe I'm an alien. Who knows?
Maybe they need your professional filmography skills on some kind of ad campaign they're doing.
Well, I think I could handle that pretty good. I don't know if the fee can be paid, though, because going up in space freaks me out. A lot of nothing.
Yeah. Just as long as they don't have some of the pets they have on the ship aren't xenomorphs. We don't want that.
Well, yeah, no xenomorph pets. But, if it's one of those like hog-looking Klingon dog things, maybe I'd be okay with it. But 3i Atlas, I mean, is it a menace? Is it going to be game-changing in a positive way? Or is it just going to end up being a comet? We don't know. But keep your eyes on the skies, everyone.
So thanks for tuning in on this special report, on this new update, and all this different information we have. We definitely wanted to get a video out so we could all talk about it. We have many more videos coming down the pike for you guys. All kinds of really great comments. We really enjoy doing this together, and hopefully you guys enjoy the channel as well. Make sure to hit the subscribe button here, because there's many more videos to come, and we're trying to get our subscriber base to grow even further. We're really happy where it's at so far, but yeah, upwards and onwards, guys. We're really looking forward to the future of Can You Believe That?
Yes, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you who have been with us from the start. And thank you for sharing this with all your friends and family that you think will enjoy it. It's been a pleasure and an honor to keep doing this. And we're going to keep coming to you guys and bringing you new cool things every 2 weeks.
Thanks for watching.
Hey, everybody. So since we recorded this episode on August 20th, there have been new developments, and I just wanted to put these out here for you all to see. What we've noticed is they started talking about the composition of this. Obviously, the mainstream is talking about it now as a comet because there is, in fact, a stubby little tail behind it, which is indicative to comets, although it is still unusual because the comet's tail is not very long. So it still is acting behaviorally strange. It had the cloud in front of it, which we mentioned in the episode initially, which didn't seem to indicate that solar winds were pushing the material back in its trajectory. So we have some of these things that are just anomalous and strange. Something else that was brought up, though, is that we talked about the origin of this being from the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Well, now we know that it has been found out that it's coming from the Sagittarius constellation, which is a region of space that we've actually received radio signals from, including the famous WOW signal from 1977 that SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, their array of dishes picked up. That is a thing that is part of this and why it's still leading to further speculation that this could be a craft of non-human intelligent origin. Now, something else about the dust cloud. The composition of the gas cloud around Atlas shows that it's high in CO2, which is kind of unusual for comets. You don't normally see this much CO2 being output by comet, but also shows a lot of high levels of nickel and cyanide, but the nickel is not present with iron, which typically in comets, nickel and iron are natural elements that trail behind. We're seeing nickel, no iron. Now, what does that mean? Well, speculation from some scientists that we've researched says that this really can only happen in an industrial process, meaning that it has to be in the creation of something where nickel is the only byproduct. So a lot of the speculation points to something like nititol, which is a nickel titanium alloy that is manufactured, can only be manufactured, has a lot of flexibility properties, and then retains its original shape. It's used in aerospace and aeronautics. So this is an interesting development to think that, is it possible that nititol is what is on the surface of this thing, which again means that maybe it is constructed. You also have Avi Loeb and others speculating that they believe this craft to be nuclear powered or have some sort of energy source powering it, only because, and it's again pure speculation I think on their part, but only because we see so much light reflecting off of the object that it almost seems unnatural based on the distance to the sun and the composition that we've seen so far. So they're proposing that there's some sort of light being emitted by the object. Again, don't know how true that is, but this is all new updates that have happened since we recorded the episode. Obviously, a lot is unfolding very quickly, but we wanted to make sure we tagged this at the end of the episode so you could stay up to date on everything and the latest of what was found out. So here you are. This is the information. We have to date. And thank you for watching this special report.